Hey, what is up guys, MKBHD here. Alright, we have some pretty great smartphones already, like the Moto X style and the OnePlus 2 that are under $400 off contract. But then the market for even less expensive smartphones under $300 has heated up a lot in the past couple months. Alcatel One Touch Idol 3, Asus Zenfone 2, the OnePlus 1 has come down in price. So Motorola's response to all of this is actually really important to them. Moto G is like their baby, to the point where Moto G was their best-selling smartphone of all time. So this is Motorola's real flagship. Sure, the Moto X style and the Play will have higher end specs on paper, but the Moto G is the most important phone that Motorola makes right now. So this is the Moto G 2015, attempting to up the quality from last year and keep the price low. So to get it out of the way, the price, actually there's two models, but starting at $179. So there's a $179 8GB model with 1GB of RAM, or the $220 16GB model with 2GB of RAM. I recommend the higher end model. That's what I've been testing, so technically a little over $200. So to keep the quality high and the price low, Moto essentially has a stripped down version of their more premium phones. So there's plastic around the edges where there used to be metal. It's a little bit thicker and more rounded than other flagships, and it's missing little things like 5 GHz Wi-Fi or AC Wi-Fi and NFC. Now if this thing was being labeled a flagship killer, or if it had a huge price tag, then those would be pretty head scratching, but it's not. So we can forgive it. It still has some premium parts though, because these are things that come down in price over time. So the Moto G has the exact same camera sensor from the Nexus 6, a 13 megapixel sensor. No optical image stabilization and no 4K video though, so I wouldn't expect a lot from it, but still not bad. You also get a little dimple on the back of the phone, which, yes, again, I'm a really big fan of, and the whole back is actually pretty nice. It's textured in a nice way, where these ridges aren't so deep that they catch dirt or anything, but they're enough to give a nice grip in the hand, and the phone doesn't slide off a table or out of your pocket like some other flagships out there. It also has a removable back, and while the battery is sealed in, you do get a micro SD card slot, again, pretty good. And if you make sure to click down all the spots on the back of the phone correctly every time, the Moto G is also IPX7 water resistant. So for up to 1 meter of water for 30 minutes, which means it's good basically to handle splashes or rain, which is convenient. It's also rocking a front-facing speaker. Now it's not the stereo speaker that I love from the Nexus 6. It's only on the bottom grille, but even at that, it's a front-facing speaker. It's big, it's loud, it's hard to block by accident, and it's much better than anything rear-facing or downward-facing, so I'll still take it. And other parts of the phone are more expected for this price. So it's rocking a 5-inch 720p display. Pretty sure it's the same panel as last year's Moto G, so it's not the brightest thing in the world, but has okay viewing angles, and it's an IPS display. Nothing noteworthy here. And inside is a Snapdragon 410, which is a quad-core chip, and a 2,470 milliamp hour battery, which is absolutely its best feature. The battery life on the Moto G is absurdly good. First of all, it might have the best standby time of any smartphone I've ever used, and that's saying something. And on top of that, I've never even gotten close to killing in a day, and that's with my normal MKBHD use. I don't take it easy. I'm on Twitter all the time. I get a lot of email, plenty of video watching. You can expect 6 hours of screen on time easily out of this phone, no problem. And the best part is, if you have a light usage day, which, let's be honest, a lot of Moto G buyers will have sometimes, you can just not charge it that night and have enough juice to go the entire next day without any worries. I basically love the battery on the Moto G. This is also pretty promising, I think, for the Moto X style's battery, given it has the same software situation and didn't go with the Snapdragon 810. So now the lightweight OS in the Moto G keeps the battery and the performance great, and while this phone doesn't exactly bench much, performance is just fine. And again, I'm speaking for the higher end model here with the 2GB of RAM, and it handles normal use, some multitasking, having a couple apps open, etc., all without really hitching or stuttering. Motorola has added a few features that may be useful if you decide to turn them on, but you can also disable them, although I didn't, since they pretty much never triggered accidentally. So there's the double chop to light up the LEDs on the back here for a flashlight, which by the way really shows off the plastic build, and the classic double twist for Motorola to open the camera. Other Moto stuff lies in the app, like recognizing when you're sleeping or driving or like at a certain location and changing your settings accordingly. Honestly, this Moto G is a complete phone for the price tag. It has LTE, it has active display, even though it's not an OLED display, with no hit to the battery. It has an interchangeable back, and of course, if you want a little bit more color, you can change out for a new one. It doesn't have any major glaring things that you can point to and say, okay, well, that's why this phone is so cheap. I mean, I think the display is, I guess, the lowest end part of the phone. It's pretty dim, and it's only 720p, but beyond that, you're getting a lot of bang for your buck here especially being water resistant and having a front-facing speaker and a decent camera and a legitimately incredible battery life. So basically what I'm saying is if I can use this $200-ish smartphone as my daily with my use, when I'm used to like $500, $600, $700 smartphones and get away with it, then it's more than enough for people who are only looking to spend $200. So yeah, there you have it. This guy is basically top of the class for bang for the buck right now. Turns out you can't really go wrong with Moto G. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.